happier, I want to be happier, you actually can. So let's go into it. I'm just going to switch slides. So everything we're talking about tonight is based on the PERMA model of well-being. So PERMA model is the positive psychology model. And what we're going to discuss tonight, until we run out of time, is one, which is the P, which is positive emotions. The second part, the E, is engagement, or otherwise known as the psychology of flow. The third one is relationships, socialization, connections, community. The fourth one is meaning, having a purpose in our lives, meaning and purpose. And the fifth one is feeling a sense of accomplishment, feeling a sense of pride, getting through our goals, our dreams, and living the life we want. So this is what everything is based on. And these are the 5 areas of our life that we need to be happy. So I'm going to start with the first one, which is positive emotions. Now, positive emotions is really my favorite because positive emotions are something we can all get, we can all give, we can all receive. So positive emotions are so important because, well, negative emotions are a lot stronger than positive emotions. So we need to get a daily diet or a daily dose of positive emotions to balance out our negative emotions. So when we're talking about positive emotions, we're talking about love and joy or happiness. We're talking about gratitude, kindness. And when we're talking about negative emotions, and I hate to use the word negative because these emotions are really not negative. They're natural, they're normal, they're intense, but they are part of our lives and we'll have them because life is like a roller coaster ride, right? We're going to have our ups, we're going to have our downs. So for us as humans to balance out the positive and negative emotions, this is how much stronger negativity is than positivity. I'll put this up here on the chat board. We need 3 positive emotions, 3 to balance out 1 negative emotion. So that's a big difference here. So remember that. For us to balance out the negative emotions, we need to have 3 positive emotions to balance out 1 negative. Now, again, being that we're going to have these negative emotions like anger, stress, anxiety, fear, worry, because they're normal and natural part of life, I don't want you to try and deny them or push them away because that doesn't work. When we internalize all that we're feeling, whatever it is, the anger, the stress, the worry, the fear, if we keep internalizing it and pushing it down, it'll eventually rear its ugly head. So I don't want you to do that. I want you to feel your emotions, whatever comes up for you. So I'm just going to put that up here on the chat board. You want to be able to feel your emotions to get to the other side, which is healing. But we don't want to just have a life filled with negative emotions. So we want to balance it out with positive emotions. Now, part of positive aging and a real factor of positive aging is having this daily diet or daily dose of positive emotions. Because what happens is when we have a daily dose of those positive emotions, we live up to 7 years longer, healthier, and happier, all for positive emotions. So think about it the same way with physical, right? With our physical health, we need to have our basic needs met, right? We need sleep, we need to have a good diet, we need to drink plenty of water, have it right here. We need mindfulness to de-stress, and we have to have exercise. That keeps us physically in a good place. For us to have emotional health and wellness, we need to have a dose of positive emotions. Now, we all have what's called a negative bias, and I'm not sure if you ever heard of that, but the negative bias, everybody has, every human. It's a genetic, and what it does is it kind of tends for us to lean towards the negative, notice the negative, and kind of get stuck in the negative. So being that that happens when we actually intentionally add positive emotions into our day, we can balance it out. So you want to be intentional about getting these positive emotions. So I'm going to switch slides so you can see them. So I put up here a bunch of different positive emotions. Now, of course, you can get different ones, but these are some of the most popular and easy to get. So the thing to think about with positive emotions is you can get them by giving them, but you can also get it by receiving. So it's a two-way street. So the first emotion that I have up here, and it's one of my favorites, is kindness. Now, kindness is a great emotion because All it is doing random acts of kindness, right? It's paying it forward. Or as I like to think of it, how can I be of service today? Now, that doesn't mean you have to buy somebody a cup of coffee or pay someone's toll like we used to do. And that's fine if you want to. But really, an act of kindness can literally be as easy as just smiling at another person. Now, with masks, that made it a little harder, but I have noticed even like when I'm out and I'm wearing a mask, I still smile because it's just my natural. When I pass somebody at the food store or Walmart, wherever I am, I smile. And you could start seeing people's smiles. I think we are all learning the new nonverbals with the mask. You can see their eyes go up, the ears go up, the mask moves up. And what happens is even just a smile produces endorphins. And endorphins is a chemical that produces happiness. So every time we smile, we laugh, we hug, we touch, we spoon, we cuddle, we hold hands, we get that boost of endorphins. So one of the easiest exercises that we used to have people do, it's called a positive psychology intervention, is we'd have people just smile at 10 people a day. People you know, people you don't know, strangers, people at work, it didn't matter. And just by doing that, you were doing a random act of kindness. Now, random act of kindness, not only does it cultivate happiness because it's a positive emotion, but the bonuses with kindness is it also boosts our self-esteem. So it's kind of like a double here. You get happiness and self-esteem just by paying it forward. And again, simple acts of paying it forward, not just a smile, saying, hi, how are you? Giving a compliment, holding the door open, asking someone how their day is, talking to people, if you go to buy something at the register, those kinds of acts go a really long way. So every time you do a random act of kindness, you get a boost of happiness that lasts 24 to 72 hours. And the person you did the act for gets the same boost of happiness for 24 to 72 hours. So it's a win-win, plus everybody gets that boost of self-esteem. So I always like to think of it this way. If everybody just did one act of kindness a day, just one, even the smallest compliment, saying hi, holding the door open, how different the world would be. The one thing about smiling is it's contagious. So when somebody smiles at you, even if you don't want to smile and you're not in the mood, you actually notice it kind of makes you smile. So today I was speaking live at a luncheon. There was a award ceremony at a place and they hired me to be the speaker. And I told everybody to smile because there was no masks because everybody was tested and they were sitting in their spots. And right after we all smiled at each other and everybody started laughing, because when people smile, it makes you laugh. One of the gentlemen said, I didn't want to smile. I was having a bad day, but when everybody smiled, I just felt like I had to. And that's what happens. It's contagious. It makes you smile. And when you smile, you automatically produce endorphins. So even though we're on Zoom, everybody should be smiling. So that's the simple act of kindness. So we can get that every day. The next one is gratitude. And I'm going to put this up here on the chat board because I think of gratitude as a superpower. And the reason being is gratitude is a positive emotion. So you automatically cultivate happiness. But on the other side of gratitude, it's also a form of mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is so important because what happens is mindfulness is the only way to naturally, that's the key word, naturally de-stress. Now, that's important because unfortunately, we can't live a stress-free life. We can reduce our stress. We can manage it effectively so it doesn't, get us too far down. But again, being that, life is always changing, sometimes we can't avoid external circumstances or external circumstances that are happening at the same time that personal things are happening, and we get stressed. It's part of life. But mindfulness naturally helps us de-stress. And I know when most people think of mindfulness, they think of yoga or chair yoga or guided meditations, meditating. And those are all great. Those are intentional practices of being mindful. There's so many ways to be mindful, and gratitude is my favorite. Now, I have my clients do it in a specific way, but you can do it however you want. But I have my clients do gratitude at night, right before bed. Now, the reason I have them doing it at night is a few reasons. So Whatever you're thinking about 20 to 30 minutes before you go to sleep affects how you sleep, if you sleep, what mood you wake up in, and also how you dream. And for a lot of us at night, after we're done working, going to school, taking care of the family, watching our favorite TV shows, reading a book, whatever we're doing, right before bed is when we have that silence. And that's where a lot of people start evaluating their day and they start having that rumination, those repetitive thoughts. And a lot of times they're negative. We think about what we should have done, what we could have done, what we should have done. How could we forget that? Why did we say that? And we get stuck there and we ruminate and then we can't fall asleep. But because gratitude is a form of mindfulness, what it does is it de-stresses us. It lowers our cortisol, which is the stress hormone. It lowers blood pressure, reduces chronic pain, calms us, and helps us sleep. So just by doing gratitude, we're going to have positive thoughts before we go to bed, and it's going to help us sleep. So that's why I suggest it at night, but find what works for you. Some people like doing it in the morning. It doesn't matter. That's just a suggestion, but doing it anytime is perfect. Now, the question I have my clients ask themselves, and again, you can write it out like a gratitude journal. I'm not sure if anybody here has a gratitude journal. I know a lot of my clients love the gratitude journal. So you can write it, you could say it out loud, or you could say it in your head. But you want to ask yourself, what are 2 to 3 things I am grateful for that happened today? And the reason being is I want you to look through your day for the little gifts, blessings, and miracles that happen throughout your day. Now, that's important because you don't always notice it, right? At the end of the day, we notice the negative. Again, because of the negative bias, the negative sticks out. So by asking yourself that question and looking through your day, you start retraining or rewiring your brain to notice the good instead of the bad. And that's really important because when we can see the good instead of the bad, not only do we build happiness, but we're building resiliency, which is very important because resiliency is the ability to move through tough times, setbacks, mistakes, failures, and move forward. So by doing the gratitude, we start rewiring our brain. Now that's really important because when we go through a tough situation, whether it's something like the pandemic that everybody's going through, or something personal, an illness, an injury, a loss of a loved one, a friendship or a relationship that breaks up, right? And we're going through something really, really tough, we end up having a negative reaction. But just so you know, every time you go through a tough situation of any type, there's 2 different thoughts that come up. One's negative, one's positive, but they're both based on truth. So, for example, now that we have the new variant of COVID, Omicron, can never say that correctly. I have clients coming in going, oh my God, I can't believe we have another variant. You know, I've gotten the booster, but people are still getting sick. I'm watching them close the colleges and schools and this, the sports and everybody's vaccinated. What's going on? What do I do? And that's all based on truth. Then I have other people coming in going, all right, this sucks. We have another variant, but the good news is every time we have a new variant, it gets less, it's more mild. We have the shots, we have the vaccines, which is good news. We know how to handle this. We could go online if we need to. We got this. Both sides of the story or situation are 100% true. Where do you find yourself putting your attention? Be mindful of that. Are you focusing in on the negative side or the positive side? If you notice it's the negative side, gratitude will start retraining you to notice the good. And when we can notice the good in a bad situation or purpose in a painful situation, we got resiliency. So gratitude does so many things, and that's why I like it. The other one that matches with it is the question underneath, which is, what did I do well today? Or what are 2 to 3 things I did well today? And I have my clients do that with gratitude again at night. Again, you can write it, say it out loud, say it in your head, whatever you want. Now, these 2 questions together both rewire your brain to notice the good. Because again, at the end of the day, right, we go over our day, we evaluate our day, and we always notice the negative. I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I went out with my hair looking like this. Why did I forget to do this? What's wrong with me? I'm such an idiot. And we go down that negative path. So when I look at not just only what am I grateful for, but I look at what I did well, now I'm starting to boost emotions of accomplishment and pride. So just by asking yourself, what did I do well? I now have two more positive emotions, accomplishment and pride. The thing is, when we look at what I'm grateful for, and like today, I'm so grateful for the weather. So grateful. I'm so grateful I had to go to a new place today. It was in Edison. I don't know the area. I found it. I'm grateful for a GPS. Now, I'm grateful for those things, but I don't have control over them. I wish I had control over the weather. We'd have sunny, warm days every day, but I don't. But what I do well are the things that I put in the hard work, the effort, the practice. That's important. And that's where you get the difference of gratitude and then accomplishment and pride. But just by doing one act of kindness, doing a gratitude check at night, asking yourself, what did I do well today? You already have 4 positive emotions. That's a lot. So just by doing that, you already have some. And again, these are all free, easy, and won't change your schedule. Another way that you can get accomplishment and pride, just to add this in here, very easy way. I'll put this up on your chat board. Make your bed. Very easy. Even if you're going to go back in and take a nap or you're working from home in your bed, doing school from home, make your bed. Because making your bed actually gives you this sense of accomplishment and pride. It's a military thing, but it works. It takes you 30 seconds, but it gives you that. So right there, we have accomplishment and pride. The next one is awe and wonderment, which is really great because it also adds in a few things. So when we are looking at nature, animals, our grandkids or our kids or babies in general, any kind of beauty, artwork, whatever it is that you find beautiful, when you do that, not only are you, looking and enjoying and getting that awe and wonderment, which is very important, but every time you do that and you spend a few minutes just enjoying it, you're savoring. And when we savor the moment, we get a boost of happiness as well. So with awe and wonderment, you can do it so many ways. Awe and wonderment also adds in mindfulness. So when you're out in nature, you can do this very simple exercise, whether you're just sitting in your car, sitting on your deck, looking out the window, taking a walk. Of course, it all depends on the weather. Hopefully today, tomorrow, and Saturday with the beautiful weather, you're spending it outdoors in nature. But every time you do that and you just use one of your senses, what do you see? The sun, how beautiful it is, the clouds, the shapes they form, the leaves. What do you hear? The birds, the bees, the dog barking. What do you smell? If you're at the beach, if it's your pool, if it's somebody barbecuing, or here, when it gets cold, everybody has like this flavored wood that you smell. It smells really good. Whatever it is, use one of your emotions to notice, and that brings you into mindfulness. And all mindfulness is, again, is being awake and aware to everything around you externally, as well as being awake and aware to what's going on in your brain, what thoughts are going on. So it brings a lot of self-awareness, and it's done without judgment. So when you're mindful, you're noticing both external and internal, but you're not judging it. And why that's important is it brings you to the here and now. And when you're in the moment, you're your happiest, your healthiest, your most productive, and your most creative. So it's good personally and professionally that we're mindful. And just enjoying nature is mindfulness, just using your senses and noticing just one. It doesn't matter what it is that you notice, that's mindfulness. And when you take a few minutes to really savor it and take in the moment, you're getting that savoring, which is really important because it makes us have those little momentary moments of happiness. So take some time to notice it. And, I notice it sometimes in the cold, just driving in my car because I feel the sun, right? Sometimes you're driving and it's like 20 below zero out, but the sun is so strong, and through the car, you feel like the sun and the heat on your face and feels good. That's savoring the moment. That's just noticing it. Awe and wonderment, really great. Now, if you can do things outside, again, while the weather's good, or if you don't mind bundling up, and that's something that a lot of the countries like Sweden, Switzerland, Norway, Denmark, when we look at the happiest countries in the world, they're always on there. It's always the coldest countries. And it took me a very long time to be like, how could they be so happy? But again, not everybody's like me. I know a lot of people like the cold. I don't get it, but they do. But in those countries, they don't let the cold stop them. Even in the dead of winter and when it's dark, they're outside riding their bikes, roller skating, rollerblading, ice skating, skiing, going on walks. And the reason being is they'll dress up in layers because nature makes us happy being outside. What happens is we get the cardio, we get the fresh air, so we're getting all the mindfulness, and we're getting the sun, which is very important because what we need from the sun is vitamin D. And when the days get shorter, right when we put the clocks back, it gets darker, drearier, gray, and we're not spending time outside, we can feel the effects of the winter blues or seasonal affective disorder, or just in general, we need vitamin D. So if you know you're not going to be out, and I know during the pandemic, a lot of people felt isolated and trapped, nothing to do with the weather, just because we were stuck inside, take vitamin D supplements. Vitamin D is one of the best vitamins, and it's not even really considered a vitamin. But we always talk about vitamin C, which is amazing. But vitamin D does so much. It's a super vitamin. So vitamin D, great for your bones, great for your immune system. And scientifically, they're talking about all the benefits of vitamin D with COVID, as well as any other illness. But it's also one of the best for your moods and your emotions. So having that vitamin D, getting the natural sunlight is always the best. But if not, take those vitamin D supplements. Also, sitting in your car, sitting by your window and getting the sun, even if you're not outside, you're bringing the outside in, that works too. So get that vitamin D, spend your time in nature, notice the awe and wonderment. It could be your animal too. You have a cat, dog, a bunny, a horse, whatever it is, grandkids, babies, all of it, the beauty, the art. Really savor it, notice it, and get that awe and wonderment. The next one is happiness or joy, whichever word you like. Every time I use joy, some people think of it more in a religious sense. So we're just talking about happiness and joy as an emotion. So the question is, you want to ask yourself is, what cultivates happiness for you? Now, it's a very individual thing. What makes me happy might not make you happy. So it really has to be a real personal question of, how do I cultivate happiness? What are 3 to 5 things in my life that make me happy no matter what's going on, whether it's beautiful out or pouring, whether I don't feel good or I feel great, whether I had a bad night's sleep or a good night's sleep? What makes you happy? And I want you to really think of that, because a lot of people struggle with that question. They don't know what makes them happy. And a lot of people will tell you what makes their spouse happy, their kids happy, their boss, their best friend. But they don't know what makes them happy. And a lot of reason for that is because we make everybody else around us the priority. And we don't do a lot of self-care. We give to others, our job, our families, our spouses, our friends, but we don't take care of ourselves. And what happens is, when we're younger, when we're teens or tweens or even 20s, we're more self-absorbed because everything's around, our lives and about us. But when we get married, we get a job, we get a house, we have kids, everything becomes about everybody else and we forget ourselves. So sometimes you got to really sit down and think, what brings me happiness? Write that list of what cultivates happiness for you. And then when you're done, I want you to look at that list and see, does it match my life? Meaning, do I actually do any of those things on my list? Because if you know what makes you happy, but you don't schedule it in, then you're not getting it. And this is really important. We need fun. We need self-care. We need happiness. And when we do things that cultivate happiness, it also makes us have fun. It makes us enjoy life. We get that fun feeling. And all of that is so important. So what cultivates happiness for you, just for you, and shouldn't be around anybody else? Like, yes, we're all happy when our kids are happy, our grandkids are happy, but eventually they go on and get their own lives. So we need to find things that make us happy no matter what. So put some time into that if you don't know what cultivates happiness for you. Really important one. Happiness is a real big one. The next one is interest and curiosity. Now, this is a big one because for us with positive aging, to be happy as we age, we need to be curious and we need to keep learning. So even if you're done professionally in your life, you're done with school, you're done with work, you don't need professional development anymore, you should always be learning. Now, learning is a huge factor of positive aging. So the more we learn, the more we keep our brain moving. Your brain is like a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. And the way to keep our brain strong and fresh is to do cognitive work. And one of the easiest ways to do cognitive work is to learn something new. Very easy, whether it's do a video, book, travel, hands-on, whatever it is you want to do, there's no right or wrong way. So every time you learn something new, you boost your happiness, but you also develop cognitive skills and keep your brain fresh, which helps keep our memory and also keep Alzheimer's and dementia away. So really learn something new as often as you can. And it could be fun things, it could be learning how to cook or bake something new. It could be learning about a town in New Jersey that you've never been to. I have a client that her and her spouse will always go once a month to a new town, somewhere in the tri-state area, just a day trip. And all they want to do is go there and meet the people that are there, look at what the best restaurants are, their trails to go hiking. And it's just about curiosity and learning. So it could be through a book, doesn't matter. And of course, libraries are one of the best resources to learn. So really interest and curiosity. And the other way you can do that is asking yourself the question, how can I step outside my comfort zone today? Which is really important. Because again, when we talk about that people feel like blah or unmotivated or unenthusiastic for life, a lot of times it's because they're stuck, stale, stagnant feeling. And what happens is when we stay in our comfort zone and we never branch out, we don't grow, we don't expand, and we get that bored, stuck, stale feeling, which can lead to depression. So every day you want to ask yourself, how can I step outside my comfort zone? Or how can I challenge myself today? And again, it could be something very simple. So it could be trying a new drink or food. Be taking a class like maybe tonight you wouldn't have thought about taking happiness, but here you are. Might be asking a question when you normally don't do that. Be taking a different route to work. Today at the luncheon, one lady got up and said, I got a snowman shirt for this. She goes, I never wear Christmas stuff, but I just wanted to. She goes, and I got so many compliments, it made me feel good. Just wearing something new. That's how easy it is. And when we do that, we have the interest, curiosity, but we also push fear out of the way. And fear can be good. Fear can be used as a tool of, this is something that's important for me. This is something that means a lot to me. I want to put a lot of effort in it. It could be an alarm, like stress and fear is an alarm that something's going on. But when we have too much fear that it paralyzes us and we can't move forward, that's a problem. So when we do new things and we don't let the fear stop us, you will feel it though. I don't want you to think you won't feel it. But you don't let it stop us. That helps us be resilient. That helps us get through setbacks. It helps us expand and grow. And remember this, I know a lot of us have a lot of fear and completely normal. So I'll put this up here. Just so you know, 90%, and I love the stat, so I share it a lot. 90% of what you fear never ever happens. 90%. 5% happens, but not half as bad as you thought. So only 5% actually happens. So go try new things. No matter what it is, start small, but get out there. Hope and inspiration are another two. And we can get that through, well, every time you learn something new and you're curious and you get excited about it, it gives you hope. It makes you feel good. It makes you want to learn more. You get inspired by learning. So one thing I do is every morning I get up and I either read something or listen to a video that's all about learning something I want to learn. TED Talks have great inspirational videos on YouTube, books at the library, whatever it is. And every time I learn something new, I have that interest and curiosity. I feel a sense of accomplishment that I did it. And I feel inspired to learn more and to write and to do the workshops. It sets us in a momentum. So hope and inspiration. So these are just some of the positive emotions. And again, you can get them by giving or receiving. But if you get a daily dose of these, and as you can see, they're free, they're easy to do, and they don't change your schedule and they don't cost any money. And when we do them, we boost our happiness and we can live up to 7 years longer, healthier, and happier. So there's some positive emotion exercises. So if you want a copy of the slides, I could send it to you. I don't want to spend too much time because I want to go on to other, but those are some ways. So the next one is flow. Now, there's psychology of flow, and flow is really important because flow, again, it's like a superpower, just like gratitude. Flow causes happiness, which is important, as we say, cultivates happiness. But on the other side, flow also cultivates mindfulness. Now, you probably heard of flow more as like get in the zone. But what flow is, basically, it's an activity that you love to do. You love it, you're immersed in the activity, or your concentration, your focus, your attention is all on that activity. But the activity challenges you, not too much that it becomes frustrating and you want to give up or quit, but it challenges you enough that you're more interested, you want to keep doing it. So you get a little bit of, this is great, I love this, as well as a little bit of a challenge. And what happens is you get into that flow. And when you're in that flow, and one of the best ways to know you're in flow is that you get a sense of timelessness. Like you think you're just going to be writing. Maybe writing gives you flow. You think you're going to do it for 10, 20 minutes. You get so involved in it, the next, it's an hour or two later. You didn't hear the phone ring. You didn't realize what time it was. You didn't even know you had to go to the bathroom because you're so involved. Now, for some people, flow is more of a physical. It's going for a walk causes flow for a lot of people. It could be a sport that you love. If there's anything, whether it's swimming, volleyball, tennis, golf, whatever it is. And for others, people find it more in the creative side, drawing, painting, writing, crocheting, cooking, baking. I even have clients who get flow from cleaning. I totally don't get that, but people do. So that is flow. Now, when you know what causes flow, and it might be a few different things, you want to schedule that into your week as well, that you do some activities that causes flow. If you have a career that while you're doing your career, whatever it is, causes flow while you're doing it, then that's even a bonus. You'll never feel like you're working. But that's not always the case for some people. They have a job and they have flow as an outside hobby, whatever that is. Again, it could be sport, it could be riding horses, it could be taking pictures. Doesn't matter what it is. It's just being in flow and knowing what that is. And again, the few things that it is and making sure you do them, really important for our happiness and our mindfulness. Because you notice when you do something that you love, that you're in flow, right? You don't think about anything else. You don't notice the negativity. You don't focus on the negativity. You don't notice anybody else's negativity. We're in flow. So that's a really important one as well. The next one is socialization, relationships. So socialization is so important because it's the number one factor of happiness across the board, no matter male, female, age, wherever you live. But I will tell you something about happiness that always I never knew until I got into this field 10, 11 years ago, of positive psychology. We are happier the older we get, which is like bonus being that I'm getting older. So somewhere in our early 50s, we get to this place where we feel that we're not looking for acceptance from other people anymore. Excuse my language, but a lot of my clients used to say this to me when I was counseling in my 30s or 40s. They'd be like, all of a sudden I hit 51, 52, and I just didn't give a shit what people thought of me anymore. And when you get to that place, that's a place of freedom, when you're not worried about what other people think and you're not comparing yourself to others. Really important, right? So socialization, number one factor of happiness, number one factor of depression outside of mental illness, which could be genetic or situational or both, is loneliness and isolation, which is why we worried so much during the pandemic and we saw so much of it. And I know we had to do it for health reasons, but definitely phased us in our mental health. And that's why they say we're in such a mental health crisis during this pandemic and still. Now, socialization is like this big umbrella, and underneath it are a few things. So I'll put them up on the chat board. The first one is community. So it's having a sense of community, no matter where it is. It could be your gym, being part of a group, a crocheting group, a senior group, a book club, whatever it is. It could be if you're part of the PTA, if you're part of a sport, those are great. But community could also be neighborhood, your job. We all need that sense of community because it gives us a sense of belonging. And we have two emotional basic needs. So those are acceptance, and I'll put this up here, and belonging. We need both. So we need to feel a sense of belonging with a few people. It doesn't have to be a large group, but a few people that we feel love us, respect us, and we belong. We have our peers and we can trust and have a good time. Then we also need to have acceptance of ourselves, which is our self-worth. So by having community, we get that sense of belonging. We need to have fun, which again is that happiness, that self-care. We need to have fun. And then the third one is really, really important, the biggest one, I think, which is support. Because we can't heal, we can't grieve, we can't forgive, we can't work through anything without support. Now, the key factor with support, or the key word, is unconditional. And what I mean by unconditional is having just a few people, does not have to be a lot of people, but just a few. And if you have one or two or three people, you're ahead of the game. But these people need to love you unconditionally, which means they will be there no matter what. They won't judge you. They won't reject you. They won't abandon you no matter what's going on. Now, that doesn't mean they won't tell you when you're doing something that's harmful or unhealthy, but they won't judge you or abandon you for it, which is so important because when you have that unconditional support, that means that you're able to be vulnerable, means you're able to have self-disclosure, be open, and be your true, authentic self, which is really important because if we're always wearing a mask and we're always trying to get other people's acceptance and approval, it's exhausting. And then we don't have the right boundaries and people take advantage of us, or we're always there for everybody else and there's no give and take, it's unbalanced. And that leads to stress and unhappiness. So socialization is important, but they need to be positive relationships. Now, not only is that important for happiness, but it's important for positive aging because we need positive relationships because we want to reduce stress as we get older. And the reason being is stress. Well, I'll give it to you another number, same stat number. 90% of illnesses and doctor visits are stress related. And stress not only affects us emotionally, it affects our bodies. That's why we call our body the pain body, because we hold all of those stress, anxiety, anger, fear all over our bodies. So we want positive relationships and we want unconditional. Now, the thing is, some of the biggest stressors in our life or triggers are people. I hate to say that. And with the holidays here, to be family. So you want to think about making sure, one, you know that moods and emotions are contagious. So if we, even on here, you can notice it, or if we're in person, when somebody comes in the room, let's say I walked in the room, you notice within about 30 seconds to a minute if I'm in a good mood or a bad mood. That's how quickly you notice it. Then about 5 to 10 minutes, my mood starts becoming your mood. So who we spend our time with, that group of people, like a handful of people we spend the most time with, family, friends, coworkers, neighbors, totally affects us. Now, if we're surrounded by a group of people that are toxic or really negative, now negative and toxic can be different because we could have some negative Nancy's, Debbie Downers, miserable Mikes, right? People who just see the glass half empty. They're more pessimists, or as they call themselves, realists. But they're good people. They have big hearts and they want to be there for you. It's a reciprocal relationship. Sometimes you have to say, okay, enough, let's move on. Let's have fun, or I really need you, but they're there. We have toxic people. That's completely different. Toxic people affect your health. So a toxic person, again, I'm just giving generalizations, but you technically can do the mind-body connection to know if somebody's toxic for you. When you're around somebody who's toxic, even if it's a text, an email, excuse me, a call, you feel it on your body when you're around them. Think about, how do you hold stress on your body? it's your shoulders and your back, your neck, your jaw, headaches, migraines, your stomach. When you're around this person or even know that you're going to see them, you feel that. And you feel it all the time. We're not talking about the person who's just going through a bad time or once in a while. This is a pattern of behavior you see with somebody for years. Toxic person makes you feel worse about yourself than you did before. Like if I just go out for lunch with one of my friends, or we just go to even Starbucks and grab a cup of coffee and sit outside in the park, right? We could just hang out and chat for 2-3 hours, do nothing special. And I'll leave with a boost of happiness because of the socialization. We're laughing, we're smiling. I feel great. If I'm with somebody who's toxic, I leave feeling worse about myself. Now, if you're the positive person and think you're going to go into a group of negative Nancy's or toxic and lift them up, reminder, negative is more powerful or stronger than positive. They'll bring you down before they lift you up. But some typical traits of a toxic person is they're always the victim. Nothing is ever their fault. Why me? They will never take accountability. The relationship is never reciprocal. All they do is take, but they never give. Nor do they want to give, nor do they care to. And when you can't be that person for them, they're going to get upset, angry, yell at you, leave. They're judgmental. They're harsh. They're critical. They're always surrounded by drama or chaos. And they're self-centered, selfish, narcissistic kind of traits. So you want to look at your group of people. And if you're surrounded by some of those toxic people, break up with them if you can. If you can't, and it could be family that you might be seeing for the holidays or already saw for Thanksgiving, then you want to make sure you have boundaries and limitations. And remember, one of the best boundaries we have is the word no. And no is a complete sentence, and no is also an act of self-care. Boundary could be how much time you spend with a person. If you see them, maybe you only see them, like I have clients who certain family members are toxic, she'll only see them in big groups, so not alone. It might be removing topics, and a lot of times with holidays, people will say, this is the boundary. No talk on politics, no talk on religion, whatever it is. Some clients have told me we remove alcohol. We made that decision because alcohol could bring out the worst of people, and that's the boundary. So setting your boundaries and limitations and reminding yourself that moods and emotions are completely contagious, and that socialization is the number one factor of happiness. We need that community, we need that fun, and we need that support. Really important. Now, I just realized I'm running out of time. So the last two things we need is meaning and purpose. Even if you're retired, semi-retired, or retiring, you need meaning and purpose. Intrinsic meaning, meaning something that means something to you inside, not about status, title, power, how much money you make. It's about what you're carrying, what brings a sense of meaning and purpose to you, even if you made no money. What just means that much to you? What do you care so much about? And then having that sense of accomplishment, especially now with New Year's resolutions, right? Setting goals, setting resolutions, having dreams, moving forward on them, taking action, seeing them come to fruition. Really important. So making sure that you have goals and action plans. So this is a very long PowerPoint, as you can see. Just trying to get to the end. So if you have any questions or thoughts that you think of later, or you want to ask later or privately, that is my email. Again, I'm Diane. My email is dlcounseling2014@gmail. Or if you want to copy the slides, it is a big PowerPoint or a handout. I can give you a handout version of some of it. Just let me know. So I'm going to stop sharing so I can see if anybody has any questions or thoughts that I can help you with. So just give me 1 second so I can see the chat board. And okay. So in the last 10 minutes, sorry, I babbled too much. Any questions, thoughts, comments, anything I can help anybody with in regards to anything on happiness or emotional wellness or anything? I also wanted to say, I had a question before that I couldn't answer because we started talking, but Somebody asked about writing a book. And if you do want to write a book, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, because that's a question on here, and you're telling your own story, because the person told me what they were writing about, and I'll keep it private. If you're writing about your own story, trauma you've been through, things you've been through, sharing your story is really important. Very hard to do. It could also be very therapeutic, writing out your story, whether you publish it or you don't. But when you're writing out anything nonfiction, to get it published, you need to have a publisher. So you either need a publisher or you can self-publish. If you're going for a publisher, mainstream publisher, you usually need a literary agent first. And the library probably have a lot of books on this where you can find literary agents or about publishing, or you can self-publish on your own if you choose to. Again, there's a lot of books at the library that tells you how to do that. But it is a really therapeutic approach. So if anybody just wants to write their story, again, even if you don't show it, it's a therapeutic way of sharing. So just, journal writing of any type of writing, creative writing, all of that is a form of mindfulness. So I have my clients do what we call the brain dump or the, mind dump in the morning. We just keep a pad and pen, and it's really important to write it old school. When we write things, it's more therapeutic. And if you're writing goals or things to do, when you actually write it out, you're 42% or 46% more likely to accomplish it. So write it out. But every time we write something out and release it, we're not internalizing it, which is important. We're getting it on paper, we're getting it out. So it's a release and it's therapeutic. And you can use that journal to look back at and see how far you've come, look at self-awareness tips, see what you need to make changes. So it's a great idea, even if you don't publish it. I see another question. How do you do an instant? Okay, so question is, how do you do an instant refresh when you're in a stressful moment? How do you reboot, right? A few ways. First one is just deep breathing. That's it. Taking just 1 to 3 minutes, does not have to be a lot, doing deep breathing, which is just as simple. And I'll put it up here on the chat board. It could just be, we call it the 1, 2, 3 technique because it's so simple. It's just inhaling through your nose, holding, and exhaling through your mouth. So you take a deep breath in for 3, hold for 3, exhale for 3. If you do that a minute, 2 minutes, you'll start feeling the anxiety and stress symptoms on your body kind of evaporate. If you can close your eyes, even better, but of course you want to be in a safe, comfortable place where breathing reboots. Another reboot, closing your eyes, and you can do this at work, sitting in your cubicle, your office, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and then from 50, count backwards very slowly, like 50, 49, 48, you can say it out louder in your head. And it takes your brain off of everything. And usually by like 30 to 20, people zone out. And then you wake up, if you're at work, once you're not asleep, but you kind of wake up and you hear a noise, whether it's your phone rings, somebody walks by, you hear anything. So it gives you a few minutes to just refresh. Stretching does the same thing. So wherever you're holding tension on your body or stress on your body, stretch it out. With your shoulders, just do round circles, back or forth. Lift your shoulders up. If it's your neck, just stretch it out. We're going all areas. If it's your sides or your back, just stretch in your chair, turning around. All of that right there will instantly reboot you. Or a quick guided meditation that's less than 5 minutes. Shaking, just getting movement, especially if you're sitting, really important. That will wake you up. It just brings you back to the here and now, which is really important. So those are just a few ways. But there's more, but those are some simple ways. Alicia, is your hand up? Because I see the hand thing. I didn't know if you had a question or you just practicing the raise or it was by accident. What's your question, Alicia? You have to unmute. Perfect.
Hi, Diane.
Hi, Alicia.
I guess my question is, because I know you were talking about certain people when they reach that certain age where they just don't care anymore. What happens if you reach that at like a earlier time? Because I reached that time like more like in high school where I just didn't care. So I just enjoyed being like indifferent, but I don't know, is that like weird to reach that point
No,
earlier?
no, you're one of the lucky ones. If you can reach it earlier, that's amazing. Uh, but I'd have to say, and I don't know in your situation, I'm taking a hypothetical here for anybody. When we reach that situation earlier, a lot of times it's because we've been through so much and we've learned or we've had enough and we get to that place. Otherwise, we naturally get to that transition. And again, everybody's age varies. I'm just saying what I've noticed. Somewhere in your late 40s, early 50s, that you stop looking for acceptance and approval, which doesn't mean that you don't value people's opinions who are close to you, but you don't really care so much about others. Now, it can come and go though, just so you know. So you can have moments where you don't feel like that. And then, our self-esteem fluctuates, things happen, and then we get into that place and we're starting to feel acceptance and approval, looking for it. It's just a sign of low self-worth if you're there, which is not the biggest deal because we can work on it. And again, it can fluctuate. You just might have been through something, lost a job, lost a friendship, somebody, moved away, you didn't get to see them, you got sick. Anything can shift us, but it's noticing and being self-aware so we can make the changes. So you were, lucky enough to get to that place in an earlier, and if you could stick there, more power to you. That's great. It's just a sign of an earlier emotional intelligence awareness that you have. But if it does fluctuate, that's normal too, and not to beat yourself up for it. But you are one of the few lucky ones, Alicia.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else have any questions in our last minute? There's no one on the chat board. So if there is no other questions, I just want to say thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Thank you so much, Mary Page, for having us and hosting us from the library. Great resources at the library, and they always have great events. I know we're at the holidays, but in the new year, they'll have many more great events. And I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday, New Year's, and stay safe and warm. And thank you so much. And again, if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, email me and I will send everything that you asked for. So thank you so much, everybody, for enjoying your night. Thank you, Noreen. Thank you, Lorena. Thank you for sharing your evening with me and with the library. We really appreciate it. And enjoy your holidays.
Thank you, Diane. You too. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.